Next, we'll start with Rick Stratford. The Lynn School Committee Manual reads in part, the committee is responsible for providing adequate and direct means for keeping this local citizenry involved about the schools. However, a lack of or poor communication from the schools and district is an issue often raised by parents. What changes, if any, do you think are necessary at both the district and individual school level to ensure that all parents, including those who do not speak English, are kept well informed of all district/school events, activities, and changes, as well as their child's progress?
Well, I think in some schools, cultures exist in some that don't exist in others that make that school more welcoming. You know, I talked to a woman I serve on the Lynn Tech Alumni Board with, is on the PTO Callahan. She was telling me one of their concerns, they replacing the principal. Oh, maybe they're not going to, the new principal's not going to be as welcoming to what we do. We have something about Boo-Boo Day for the kindergarten parents. And, you know, when they drop the kids off, we have breakfast for them and invite them into the PTO and get them involved in the school. And I think there are other schools that have active PTOs going on because they feel welcomed by that principal. And it's not to say that the other principals, the newer principals, where those programs didn't exist prior to them coming there, wouldn't be welcoming. It's nobody's going and opening up that line of communication. They don't feel that comfortable. You know, Dr. Crane is probably one of the most welcoming principals we have in the city. She's going to be leaving. I would assume that the Highland Coalition will make their presence known and get to know that principal quickly. But I think maybe we ought to have a program for new principals coming in and you know, make part of their coming into that new school to open up to the parents, have a parent night where they could come in and meet that principal prior to school opening up, and then those parents will feel comfortable, more welcome.
This is a big one for me. You know, I write constantly about this, about the need for communication between the schools. I think Marshall has an excellent Facebook page, and that way people get informed of all the positive things that are happening. There are some other schools like Breed has their they have a sign, and Pickering has a Facebook group, and they share information that way. I think we need to share information multiple ways. They've got the Connect Ed program. These principals ought to be communicating with everybody at least once a week. I know at Pickering, the principal there, you know, he would wish my son to get the better because they have MCAS coming up tomorrow. We just need constant communication through the phone, through Facebook, through the letters in the backpack, and we just need to keep talking. All done.
In 2007, I became, for the first time, a school committee member, and communication between parents and teachers in school in general was one of the keys very up. And I was able, with agree on the school committee members, to have what we call open mind, where people can bring ideas and also feel and be listened by other members of the school committee. But I have to tell you that the superintendent is the person who hires principals. We need to set a line and see if during interviews, it's going to interview maybe 2 principals, now it's going to hire a new principal. During the interview for principals, it would be good that we made in the curriculum that principals should be part of the community, not just leaving after 3 o'clock is over. You know what I mean? So many principals, after 3 o'clock, you don't see them. But we also want parents to feel welcome in the school. Some parents, they don't feel welcome in the school. It might be because we have in our school system 14,500 students, almost 15,000. And, okay, many of the students are minority, and they speak English, but how about the parents? Maybe they don't speak English, so they feel intimidated. They are not able to communicate, and that is the reason why we fight for translation, interpreter, and have everything set up. But also, even if it's translation, we need to be sensitive. Body language talking. When you translate and you don't feel, people can feel like you don't care about what's going on.
Parent involvement is really, really important, and it is our job to communicate and get the message out to them in many different ways. I mean, our phone system is set up that the calls can come directly home to the parents. They are able to, even if it's, even if there's, they're not home, it can be left on an answering machine for them. The other thing is we have a new evaluation system for the teachers and the principals, and one of the things that we decided on the superintendents was communication, getting messages out. How do we communicate? Have more meetings for parents to hear more things. And they don't need to just hear, you know, gym is on Friday, remember their sneakers. They need more things that are going to really help us improve those level 4s or 3 schools, or bring every student up to the best in their potential. You know, I had a chance to sit on the Ed Reform Review Commission when I was appointed by Governor Wells a long time ago, and you know, everybody knows from that we had MCAS. You know, then came No Child Left Behind. Then came, you know, Race to the Top. We now have another new one that is coming out right now that's from the federal government, and it's, you know, Common Core state standards, and so that every state will be unequal, you know, so it doesn't look like Massachusetts maybe is top in the test, but some other state is in the bottom. Again, I didn't finish, sorry.
Thank you. You know, I think it boils down to being open, to being transparent, to being responsive. When I announced my candidacy in 2011, school committee meetings were not even available online. In my speech that night, not available on television. In my speech that night, I called for them to be televised, called for that again in forums like this, and it actually happened during the campaign. When I got a seat at the table, one of the first things I did was to pass a motion to make school committee meetings available online, both live and archived, so you can watch it anytime, so that parents, community members, you know what's going on. Every day, I respond to someone, whether it's through email, a telephone call, social media, Facebook and Twitter, or a face-to-face meeting. I also go to a myriad of events, whether they're in the schools or in the community. But that's really not enough. You also have to seek input. Counselor at Large Dan Cahill was here tonight, and when we talked about a site for the new Marshall Middle School, Counselor Cahill and I hit the streets. We knocked on doors in the neighborhood before we took a vote to make sure that neighbors were comfortable with the location of that school. So it's about being responsive, but it's also about reaching out. Thank you.
Could you read the question again?
The Lynn School Committee Manual reads in part, the committee is responsible for providing adequate and direct means for keeping the local citizenry involved about the schools. However, a lack of or poor communication from the schools and district is an issue often raised by parents. What changes, if any, do you think are necessary at both the district and individual school level to ensure that all parents, including those who do not speak English, are kept well informed of all school/district events, activities, and changes, as well as their child's progress?
To answer that question, the first thing I would do as a school committee member is I would slow down the voting process at the school committee meetings. Perfect example of that was what happened with the kindergarten students and the vote to go into Lynn Tech on the second floor. The vote was taken pretty quick, and people didn't have a chance to process. And I mean, the school committee didn't have a real chance to process it. It seems to me they didn't have a real chance to process the information. They didn't have a chance to really absorb what was going on and take a look and think, well, these little 5-year-old kids, and where are they going to be, and what are they going to do? And when I went to that meeting, the second meeting, when a lot of people were there and very upset, That's what I thought it would be a way to improve the communication. Give people the opportunity to take a second, to take a week, then listen to the constituents and see what you wanted them to do, so that they would make the right decision and they wouldn't have to have everybody get so upset. So that would be one way. I don't know how much time I have left, okay? But we are also, as Stanley said, we have Connect Ed. We have parent involvement. We have Gradebook Online. Most of the schools are going to get Gradebook Online. And most school websites are trying to put up homework online. Thank you.
Sorry, guys, I second your one mental thing. Great, and Cindy's here to get you, buddy. Oh. That's what I was trying to tell her. She's up front. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right into this and talk kind of really fast. So before the school took it upon themselves to televise them, I actually met Seth and Stan through going and televising the school committee events on our own. Seth wanted to put it on his blog, The Lynn Happens, and he didn't have anyone to go do it, so I volunteered. I went every Tuesday to videotape them, and then I gave it to him every day so he could put it up on his site. We did this on our own. We did this outside of the Lynn School Department, and I think actually it kind of prompted them to start doing it on their own because they found out that other people were doing it for them. Marshall has a great Facebook page. I think all of our schools should really utilize Facebook and put out all that great information. I think this board needs to have more transparency. This board goes into what's called executive session, where they discuss salaries and collective bargaining. The public only has access to those records once a year. They could have access to those records quarterly. Why not? Why not make those records available quarterly so that there is more transparency, so we can see what's going on? Open mic, it's only 15 minutes at the beginning of every school committee meeting. Where's the back and forth? I can't tell you how many parents I've spoken to and I've seen who've shown up and said, I didn't know I'm here because you're not going to talk back to me. Or the parents that send emails to the school committee and they're ignored. Or the bloggers that send emails to the entire school department and they're ignored. There's a ton of room, and I didn't even get into that we're not compliant with translation services. I didn't even tell you about the parent I had to go to their IEP meeting and have them fight to get their IEP translated because they couldn't read it. How can they help their kids if they can't even read the plan? Thank you.
That's everybody's favorite risk gathering, right? I'm sorry. I can too. I got a list.
Next, we'll start with Charlie Gallo. The Marshall Middle School building project was first initiated in 2008. 5 years later, a new school has yet.
Can you hear you now?
5 years later, a new school has yet to be built, with 3 more years predicted before the school will open, and so many others in serious need of repair or replacement. Is there anything, in your opinion, that could have been done differently to move the process of building new schools along much more quickly and efficiently?
Thank you for the question. When the project started, I wasn't there in 2008. A few people around the table were. I didn't start until 2012. But since then, I can tell you we've been working diligently on Marshall and working not only to find a site for Marshall, but also to get funding. Particularly, we're applying for funding through the state, through the Massachusetts School Building Authority, which will reimburse the city 80 cents on the dollar for a new Marshall. Now, we haven't had a new school in a long time, since 1999, which was the new classical. And this time, I think we need to do it right. I alluded or spoke about earlier, reaching out to the neighbors, finding out what they want in their school in terms of location. We're going to need to do the same thing when we start talking about curriculum there. Marshall is probably the most important project in front of the schools right now. And what's odd about it is the school committee won't really be voting much on it in the future. It'll be up to the public to vote on it, whether or not to approve a bond. And so I'll just take this opportunity to say when that vote comes before you, I hope that you will vote in favor of that bond and have Marshall be the next new school in Lynn. Marshall is going to be the first in a line of new schools. Next, we'll have Pickering in the pipeline. After that, some of our elementary schools, perhaps Tracy and West Lynn or Cobbett. But our schools need repair, and we need to rebuild, and we need to ask the voters for their help in doing that. Thank you.
A little history about the new buildings in Lynn. We started out, we refurbished Lynn English High School. Anybody that went to Lynn English High School know that where the gym is now used to be tennis courts. Then we went into Lynn Classical, and that turned out to be a debacle, a mess. And we had to fix that problem. So during that time, I believe in 2008, we finally got our Thurgood Marshall project into the pipeline. And as Charlie has said, they've been going diligently around to find the perfect spot. They checked out the inside of the school, the state did, and actually, I can't remember the name of this thing. If you give me 1 second. The Mass School Building Authority, they're the ones that are in the pipeline. You get in the pipeline, and then they look at the criteria and they say, this school cannot be refurbished. This school has to be made brand new. And it's urgent, because as soon as we finish with Thurgood Marshall, we'll then move on to Pickering, and then we start to go after, not go after, but start to look at elementary schools. We need to really focus on this, and we need your support and your votes to push this project through, and it will be up to you. And at this time, I think everybody at this table would want that. I believe, right? Wouldn't we want a new Thurgood Marshall, and don't our students deserve it? Thank you.
I think we all want new schools. I think we all want all new schools. So a couple of things that the general public might not know. So the Mass School Building Authority used to allow us to start a new school every year. During this Marshall, during the planning of Marshall, they changed the rules to where we have to complete a school before we can start another one. So we're not going to be able to knock them out one right after another like Revere had done in these past years. The other thing that a lot of people might not know is that the school committee has no control over the money to fund the new school buildings. It's all on the city council. All the money, 100% of it comes from the city council, or even the maintenance for the school. All of it is from the city council. So I would love to see to make buildings, all new schools, more efficient. I'd like to see this committee partner with our city council to go out together, to work, to advocate together for better buildings quicker, to go on to the state level, to talk to the Mass School Building Authority and say, listen, we need more than this. We need faster. We can't wait 8 years. It'll be 40 years before we get 4 schools built. What's going to happen to the Ford School? What's going to happen to Tracy? Rick was showing me pictures on his computer. In the Tracy School, there's 2 classrooms where the kids and the teachers sit on the floor because there's not enough room for desks. It's totally unacceptable. And again, we have so little control over that as a school committee because the money's not in our hands. You guys have control over that. It's going to be who you vote for city council. It's going to be what you say to your city council members about what they do with their money. Thank you.
Can I buy 5 minutes? Because this one's a killer. My slogan is, even if you don't vote for me, vote for Marshall, because we got to get this thing done. It's going to take 8 years from the time of planning in 2008 to 2016 when we put kids in the seats in that school. We've got schools that are terrible in this city. Pickering, Tracy, Cobbett, by far the 4 worst schools. If we go along that trend, we're 2040 before we replace the worst of our 4 schools. What are the conditions of the schools that we think are right now going to be in 2040? I called the MSBA last year and they said we could apply for more than 1 school. We just had to prioritize 1. Brought that back to the committee. The mayor appointed a committee of school committee members, city councilors, some parents. Natasha was there with us as we went touring these schools, a parent from each one of Pickering, Tracy, Cobbett, and I took pictures along the way. I'll show you some deplorable pictures. You know, we say Pickering's going to be next, but anybody can make the argument that any one of those 4 schools is just as bad or worse than any of the others. And we've got to do something to get these schools replaced before 2040. And the city doesn't have the money to do it. The state doesn't have the money to do it. But you know what? This city helped put John Tierney, Elizabeth Warren, Ed Markey in their seats. So start banging their doors. It's time for the feds to step up and start putting some money into the city.
I know, that was good. Rick has been out front on this issue for a long time. Okay, realistically, Marshall is not going to solve all of our problems because we've got a lot of schools that are, that need replacement. If you looked at the timelines in the item the other day, we got 2 schools that were built in the 1800s. Okay, it is true. Rick's right. We need to get some of the other people to step up and help us out. But a lot of people say that. But where is it happening? If I am elected, or when I'm elected, I'm going to. I'll write letters to those people and make calls to those people, and you all will know because I'm famous for putting my letters online so everybody can see. We need new schools, but we need to work to get them. We need to actually, I have cataracts, so I can't see that well, so it doesn't matter. All right, well, I'm done. I can't hear.
I must agree with everybody said around here because it's a shame to have schools where they just one toilet for kindergarten students, classroom. And that's Ahabat. You go there and you're going to see that even if they try to replace the windows outside, inside it's a shame to go there. And it's amazing what's going on over there. And that is something that, if I talk about Ahabat, it's because I was able to get there inside, go to the basement where it's a place where you don't want to send your kids. But one time I was there and we were working together in one organization that belonged to the New Lynn Coalition. We went to Boston, asked the trade unit over there to see if they were able to do some kind of free jobs over there. You know what they said? That that school was not, they cannot even get in because that school was not safe. So if it's not safe for adults to go there to work in the school, do some repair, do you believe it's safe for our students? But if we condemn the schools, where the school is going to be? Because it's no place to send the students. So, yes, we have to vote, we have to make everything as possible to get a Marshall school, because if we don't get Marshall school, we don't want to get the other 4 schools that we believe is going to be in a home. So, please, thinking about Marshall school, like the first step, and then we're going to go to the other school. We need that. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I have to say that I have sat on the committee for a while, and it is up to the mayor. They're the chair of our committee, and this mayor, I must give credit to Mayor Flanagan Kennedy for taking the initiative and saying we need to start with schools. The last chair of the committee, the last mayor, did not think that this was all that important. And so you can have everybody at the table here who wants it, but unless the mayor who's sitting in City Hall and the council are willing to support it, it's not going to happen. So that's an important vote too. But the big thing is, I lived, 3 of my kids, the oldest kids, went to Lynn Classical on the Common. And for years, the classical PTA fought to try to get a new classical. And, they didn't think that we really needed it. The numbers were small there. I lived where the new classical was built. I lived there for quite a while. And it changed the whole neighborhood. That one new school brought so many new homes built there. And so many families moved to that area because they took pride in that new building. So we must get the new school in Marshall. So it's an important vote. Thank you.
Next, we'll start with Melissa Romanello. Lynn's school improvement plans, which the school committee has the full authority to either approve or reject, largely focus on increasing MCAS exam proficiency rates. In your opinion, does this indicate that non-tested subjects or grades are being deprioritized or de-emphasized within LPS due to state-mandated standardized testing goals? Should our city's school improvement plans address education in all grades, subject matters, and skill areas?
Yeah, I think they should. I don't think because of the MCAS that we are just teaching to the MCAS. I really, really don't. But what I do, I don't know if I can answer your question, because what I would like to say about the school improvement plans is that our schools need school improvement councils. We're actually mandated to. And about only a third of our schools actually have school improvement councils. 2/3 of our schools don't even have them. So I think in order to address whether or not we're teaching to all of our subjects versus the MCAS, we would need to address the fact that our schools don't even have the councils to ask that question. We're only asking a third of those schools. We're not asking all of them. As a parent who's got kids in the Lynn Public School, my kids are taught every subject. I wish there was more funding for more subjects. I wish there was more funding for the arts and after-school programs and more field trips and all of those things. But no, our kids are absolutely not just being taught to the MCAS. I do believe that we should be in compliant though and have school improvement councils at each of the schools. So we can ask each of the schools. At this point, we can't even ask. Thank you.
I'm not sure that teachers are being told to back off, or less emphasis is put on, say, history or anything. Because if you're a history teacher, you think your subject is the most important. And I don't think that our history teachers, the government teachers, are stepping back because it's not yet a mandate. Will be, but it's not yet a mandate. But the problem is, our kids are being taught to the test. And then they're being over-assessed and over-data collected to the point where our teachers really aren't teaching. I don't think they're really teaching from the heart the way that they really thought they were going to be, or maybe the way that older teachers did in the beginning. And that's because of all the data collecting. And you become data collector. You're producing paper. Even I did it in tech, and people ask me, oh, do you miss teaching? Oh, I miss the kids. I miss the kids like heck. I don't miss the paperwork. Because that's what it's become about, collecting data and writing about teaching. So that's a problem, with MCAS. And I'm not saying that MCAS is the worst thing in the world, because in some respects it has raised the bar. It certainly raised the bar as far as academics and a vocational environment, because the kids have to pass the same test. But we have to give the teachers some freedom to teach. And we've got to back off of all this data.
It's not fair to follow them. I think there's too many, a lot of this is a fundamental structure. The problem is that we are trying to objectify subjective things. Like, you can't quantify intelligence in the same way all the time. We need variety, and that's what a school improvement council could do. And I'm not sure if there's actually any school in this city that has a legitimate school improvement council, maybe one or two. I serve on the student improvement council at Ford, and I'm not sure, I think ours and maybe Shoemaker, there's only a couple in compliance. We have, 26 schools? How can you get parents involved if you don't give them, let them have a way to be involved. I can't give the cataract joke again. I think we need to really establish those in all the schools.
I think that we are aware that we have some up and down in science. We work on that issues. As a matter of fact, I heard the superintendent say that she's going to try to hire somebody. She's been trying to hire somebody in the curriculum, science curriculum, because we have problems. But we also have problems with the MCAS, something that is not in our hands because we have to comply. And teachers really don't have enough time. Because I was saying, Melissa, Australia. So we all agree that MCAS is what made many teachers not able to provide all the necessary classes that they need or time for all the curriculum. But really, we don't do it so bad. We can do better, yes. Can we have more time for teaching, more resources? Yes, because we have a lot of resources for math. We have a lot of resources for English. We should have more resources for science, history. So it's bad what is going on right now. We want, and that is part of the goal of the superintendent to hire somebody who is going to be in charge of the science curriculum.
As I said, there is a little change happening. So it looks as though MCAS won't be in the future, but there'll still be a form of test. And I really forget how you say it, if you know how to use initials, but it's like, it was PARCC. I do remember that C is for career and college. And the way they're going to look at it now is, to prepare our students so they're prepared for a career and they're prepared for college. So it will be a little different from the way they did MCAS. It's also supposed to have, be allowed for creativity, more critical thinking, just a different way of looking at it. And then, as I originally said on this Common Core of state standards, is where they're going to try so that you can compare states and give equal testing. So I think it's a different way of coming. It's going to be a problem for the Lynn school system in that the test is going to be online for the students. And we're a community that's really behind in the technology we have in our schools. And it's going to be online from 3rd grade on up. So we can't just say, well, we'll get all those computers over in, the high schools and we won't worry. No, you need to have them there. Again, I didn't get to finish it.
Thank you. Numbers are important. We'd be lying to ourselves if we sat here and said they weren't, but they're not the only measure of how a school's doing. Again, what really matters is when you go into a school, are the students able to learn? Do the teachers have all the tools they need to teach? We have to prepare our students for the MCAS exam, but we also have to prepare them and provide a well-rounded education. And on this last term on the school committee, we've tried to do that in a few different ways. One, the proposed budget includes significant increases in the arts. We're going to provide new instruments and new uniforms. Two, we now have a grants fundraiser who's going to be working particularly in the area of performing arts, trying to help bring up and build up that program in our schools. And three, we've been working on a number of partnerships. We introduced a program called Student Safety Nights, where elementary school students and parents come and talk with the police and fire departments about how to stay safe over the summer. We had a business in, Salvi the Florist, that came and taught the elementary school students about plants and about science in that way. We've teamed with Arts After Hours, who provided tickets to our middle school students to some of their programs to expose them to the performing arts. Counselor Brendan Crichton and I worked together to actually bring a positive rap group into our middle schools, and it was a great success. So there are a number of things we can do. Numbers are important, but they're not be-all, end-all, and we need to be sure that we're exposing our students to the arts and providing a well-rounded education.
I think that was, the name of that group was Fame and Juliet. Fame and Juliet, and both of them were my students, and I love them. But I know I say that a lot, but if you know me, you know Gately's world, and Gately loves her students. So that goes on. At Pickering, we do have a PEM plan. We do analyze the data. I would think that we do that in other schools. So you analyze the data and you see how we can improve on those test scores. Personally, I think that you need to also include extracurricular within your subject area, which I like to do. And Charlie has been by my class once or twice, and he has seen the projects that are in my room and things that were up in the walls. And I wish every teacher would do that with every class, because again, it goes back to Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence. And if you use all the different tools, or the students intelligent, they learn it so much easier, and you'll notice that they'll take the time to actually want to come back after school, because I ran a 6 weeks program before the MCAS test after school. They want to come after school, and they want to do better on the test, and they want to show you that they understood the concepts that you were teaching. So I think it's a mixture of both. We have to analyze that data so we can locate the weakness of the individual, and then we have to come up with a way to reach them so we can actually teach everyone, all the students. Am I up to the grade yet? Okay. As far as science is concerned, that's my little pet. I love science, and I work really hard in science, and we'll address that another time, Maria. Okay.
We will now end our forum with 90-second closing statements. We will start with Stanley Walter.
It's one of the few times having a W for your last name gets you birth. I would like to thank everyone for coming out here and listening to us. My campaign manager couldn't be here tonight because he was dancing in the dugout of the Navigator game. One of the things that Charlie didn't mention, the Navigators actually, I asked Bill Trotty, the general manager, and if he wanted to speak to the school committee, Dr. Boyle put him on the agenda, and consequently, with Dr. Latham's help, every fifth grader in the city of Lynn, about 1,800 kids, got to see a game. It made a special day rite of passage, and I think that I would like the opportunity to be on the committee where I could get more things like that going on in the city and in our schools. So come November 5th, and I'd like one of your 6 votes, and please vote too on September 17th, and I'd like to be up there. Thank you, everybody.
Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, thank everyone for their efforts in putting this together. It's great to be able to come out and share our thoughts and give you all an idea of what we're all about. I like what I do. You know, I've been at it for 3.5 years, and I think I've done a pretty good job. I've helped expand programs of tech. I'm continually fighting to expedite the replacement of our aging schools. I've worked with the webmaster to put the LPS policy manual online to make it easy for people to navigate through and find out answers to their questions. I've worked with the SPED pack and the SPED department to help repair that relationship between those two, and that's working out well. I've advocated since I've been on to fix the inequities that existed in the superintendent's evaluation, and and I think we've come a long way to doing that. When I attended the Council at Large debate here a couple of weeks back, and I don't want to slight either one of them, but it was either Paul Crowley or Clay Walsh that had said, you know, we have a bunch of unique individual people running for office, and it's quite the same here. And everybody here is running for the right reasons. We all want to help move LPS forward in the best way that we can. So, you know, listen to each and every one of us, check out our websites, talk to us, ask us questions, and I hope I'm one of your 6 votes in September and November. Thank you.
Not to ride on Stan and Rick's coattails, but they're absolutely right. Thank all of you for coming, and I actually challenge you to come to the next debate and to bring a friend. Bring 2 friends. We need new faces. We need more people interested in politics, in the school committee, in the city council. We need interested people voting and trying to change Lynn for the better. I'm sure all of you know that schools are our #1 indicators for property value. Even if a family who's moving into Lynn doesn't have kids, they always ask the realtor, how are the schools? And that's because they know that the next family coming in is going to have kids. I know I asked about the schools when I moved here. I truly feel that this committee's most important job is selecting a superintendent. The superintendent gets paid more than our mayor. The superintendent has control of our schools, which again, it's the #1 indicator of property values. We can turn Lynn around if we can turn our schools around. I think running for school committee and changing this is one of the most important things I can do to help Lynn. I've got flyers on the back table. I'd love you guys to check out my Facebook page. I'd love you guys to email me with questions, and I'd love your vote. Thank you guys very much.
I totally agree with you, because I happen to have that written down, but that's our #1 factor in property value is our schools. And I just, our schools are so important, and I just really want to thank every person on the school committee that has worked for us for the past 2 years. They've worked hard, and they really do. I don't think there's a person amongst them that doesn't care about the students of Lynn. I would like one of your 6 votes. I want to be on that school committee. I want to help move this city forward. I want to take my unique experiences of being a student of Lynn Public Schools, product of that. I'm also a teacher, as you know. I forgot to tell you about my son who just graduated Lynn English High School in 2013. I can't believe I forgot my son, but I did. Because I think about the students. I really like, oh yeah, he's all done. We'll just move on. But I'm really proud of him. And Lynn Public Schools helped him along, and he is now going to college. He'll be off in September, and he wants to continue in education and following my family's footsteps. So I really would appreciate one of your 6 votes, and I think everyone here does care. And I want to thank you, Mary and Cleo, again for having us. I appreciate it.
So first and foremost, thank you to everyone for being here. You should be commended for being here and being informed voters. And if you're here working on a campaign or working for a candidate, you should be commended for being involved in that process. To learn more about my campaign, I have a website, www.charliegallo.com. I'm on Facebook or Twitter. You can call or email me. Whether we're talking about property values or employment or college for our graduates, the future of this city depends on its schools. I hope that I've shown you tonight that I've worked hard to make education better in Lynn, and to continue to do that, I need your support. The primary election is Tuesday, September 17th. The general election is Tuesday, November 5th. On those days, I respectfully ask for one of your 6 votes. Thank you.
I appreciate everybody coming here. Again, my name is Donna Capola, and I am looking for one of your 6 votes. I have loved serving on the committee. I have high energy and have a lot of hope to still see all the programs that we need in the schools to stay there. And the things that are so important to me is the academic excellence, the getting new buildings, programs, policy, all of what you want, but the taxpayer money is really important. Let's bring this city back to where it was before, and let's have people that really want to send their kids. You know, and as Maria said before, we have almost 15,000 kids in our school system. People do care that their kids are here in the school system, and we're proud to have them. But let's have everybody be proud in the community. Because sometimes we go and people aren't so proud to think that of our schools, and we do have good schools. I have loved serving on the school committee, and it has been an honor. So just ask for one of your 6 votes, and please vote for the new building. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here tonight. And I feel grateful for the opportunity that you provide to us to be here, bring you married, and pray in the whole community. Even if I say thank you, I'm shaking every time I feel I have to be in front of you. But I have no choice. So I want to continue, so I have to fight for what I want to. Some people, they thought, say, I just want to make sure that you know how we vote. Because we all want to be continue in our, as a member of the school committee, and I want to continue, but please make sure that you're going to vote for candidates who support issues that affect our students overall. We need to support candidates that when they make the motion and they vote for that motion, that issue is going to affect our students, it's going to affect teachers, it's going to affect parents. I feel so bad that when I vote to have a kindergarten, the second floor of in the commercial street, that I vote because we didn't have a time to vote. But I promise you that if it have any capacity on me, I'm going to continue fighting to see how can we make different centers in locations where our students don't have to go buses. And I just feel like, please, I want to continue fighting. Vote for giving one of your 6 votes September 17th and November 5th. Thank you very much.
We just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and enjoying our forum.
And it's not over. Thank you, everyone, again, as Cleo said, for coming out tonight. Our candidates, I would like to say, and I should have said this at the front end, in your booklet you will note that there is another candidate besides John Ford who is not here, and that is Patricia Capano. And she was planning to come to the school committee forum when it was going to be on August 21st. And so, she originally had vacation plans for that week. She canceled those.
Oh, no.
And rescheduled for this week. And then she just could not cancel her plans again. And we had to change the dates, as you all know, between the mayor's and the school committee forums. And so unfortunately she was not able to be here, but her bio is in your book. And so please refer to that, and also remember John Ford is not here because he had a family emergency tonight. And then I would like to thank Stephen Dwyer. I don't know, I think I might have missed recognizing him at the front end. He's our actual newest board member, and he's been our timekeeper tonight, and we appreciate that. He's done a great job with the yellow and the red flags. Again, the panel, Cleo, Steve has done a fabulous job tonight. Thank all of you for giving us so that Cleo had something to choose from for questions. I also did not see Peter Capano when we introduced candidates and city officials earlier, and he is your current and candidates for the Have any other candidates and/or officials come in? Katerina Panagiatakis Kudais is a candidate for councilor at large, as you all probably know from the last debate. Now, we also have the honor tonight of having, where did she go? Is Teresa still here? Okay. Well then, forget that one. If you do not know about LCA, you should learn about LCA because they're a very, very important part of the youth issues in this city. Working with those teens who are at risk and in deep trouble to try to turn their lives around. The dates for the election, the primary and the election in your brochure is wrong. I made them, I don't know if it's a stupid mistake, but I copied it off the city website. And those are not Tuesdays. I will get that fixed before we print the next brochure. I also would like to say that the Lynn Community Association is for everyone in Lynn. We consider everyone who lives in Lynn to be a member of the association. We don't charge dues. So any events that we have or suggestions that you have for us are welcome always. And you can go and like us on Facebook. We would like that very much. And we want to say that we do not endorse any candidate for any position. We seek to make you knowledgeable about all the candidates that are available to you. Once again, we have this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. a blood drive. It's going to be at Elhan at 10 Church Street. It is so critical to keep up the blood supplies. And during the summer, it's really hard because people vacation and those supplies get critically low. We cannot afford to have any emergency where we do not have blood to save a life that could have been saved if we had given blood. This is actually a regional blood drive. We welcome people from outside of Lynn to come and give, but please do give if you can on Saturday. It's very, very important. And along those same lines, I actually have a need for 2 more volunteers for Saturday, not just to give blood, but to give out cookies and juice to the people who do. So if you could do that on Saturday, either from 9 to 12, or 9 to 11:30 and 11:30 to 2. I would like to see you tonight so that I can count on you being here. The next of our forums is going to be the mayoral forum, and that is going to be on August the 7th. It's going to be in this very room. It will be moderated by Tom Sheehan, who is sitting right over there. Then we have the ward councilors on August the 21st. And I would like to thank our nice new microphone for letting us hear a little bit better tonight. And I know you appreciate these too. Thank you so much. And again, thanks to all the press members, candidates, citizens, and players. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.